My name is Natalie Evans. I am 31 years old. 7 years ago, my husband convinced our 2-year-old daughter that speaking would bring terrible harm to me, forcing her into silence to hide his growing control and resentment. He had been slowly erasing my voice in family decisions while building a narrative that I was unstable. Everything collides right now in our quiet Sioux Falls home as I stand frozen in the kitchen, staring at the thermos of herbal blend my husband prepared and left for me before he left for his 4-day business conference. My daughter Lily, who had not spoken a single word in 7 years, suddenly looked me in the eye and said in a clear voice, "Mommy, don't drink the tea Daddy made. He plotted something bad to make you sick while he is gone." My blood ran cold. I swore right then and there that I would protect us and expose whatever he was hiding, no matter the cost. If you are watching this and have ever had a family member turn on you in a way that shattered everything, drop a like and tell me in the comments what city you are in right now and what time it is there. I read every single one because knowing I am not alone makes this a little easier. The moment the words left Lily's lips, I felt the world tilt. I set the thermos down like it was poison and dropped to my knees in front of my daughter. "Lily, sweetheart, you can talk." She nodded, her eyes wide but determined. "I always could, Mommy. Daddy made me stop. He said if I ever spoke, something terrible would happen to you." The room spun. I had to steady myself on the counter. "What do you mean made you stop?" And that is when my 9-year-old daughter told me the story that shattered my marriage in an instant. Lily was not born with any condition. My husband had lied to everyone, including me. She had talked normally until she was 2. Then one afternoon, she overheard him on the phone in the kitchen. He did not notice her standing there. She heard him say my name and something about money out of the picture. "When Daddy is gone, then Mom, and then we get everything. She trusts me completely. She is so stupid." Lily did not understand it all at the time, but the next day she innocently asked her father what out of the picture meant. His face went cold. He grabbed her arms, left bruises, and knelt down. "Listen to me very carefully. If you ever speak again to anyone about anything, something terrible will happen to Mommy. Your voice is dangerous. Every word you say hurts her. If you love your mommy, you will never make another sound. Do you understand?" Lily loved me. I was the one who read to her every night, who made her feel safe. So she stopped. For 7 years. 7 years of silence because my husband terrorized her to protect his secret scheme. I sat on the kitchen floor crying as she explained how being silent made her invisible. Adults talked freely around her. She saw everything. She saw my husband practicing my signature on scrap paper. She heard phone conversations about the family trust from my parents' estate. The $1,800,000 they left us with both our names as trustees. He had already transferred $225,000 in small amounts under the reporting threshold. He had emails with a lawyer in Rapid City about emergency transfers citing my supposed mental instability. And 2 nights ago, she overheard the final plan. The herbal tea would make me violently ill and drowsy for days. While I was out of commission, my husband would drive to the lawyer and complete the transfer of the entire trust to his name using forged papers. Then he would come back acting concerned. No business conference, no 4-day trip. Just a scheme to sideline me and steal everything. I pulled Lily into my arms and held her tight. This brave child had carried this weight for 7 years. "You saved me," I whispered. "You saved us." My mind raced. I could not confront my husband yet. He thought I was clueless. I needed evidence. The first call I made was to Sarah Mitchell. Sarah and I had been friends since college. She was a nurse at the local hospital and the kind of person who showed up, no questions asked. Natalie, what is wrong? She asked when I called. I need you here right now. Something with my husband and Lily. I cannot explain over the phone. She arrived in 35 minutes, still in her scrubs. I told her everything. The plot Lily speaking for the first time. Sarah's face went pale. She looked at Lily. You are the bravest girl I have ever met. Then she put on gloves and took a sample from the thermos. I will get this to the lab tonight for a rush analysis. If it is laced with anything, we will know by morning. While we waited, Lily led us to my husband's home office. She knew the code for the locked drawer, 0315, their wedding anniversary. Inside were forged authorization forms with my signature that was close but not perfect. Bank statements showing the unauthorized withdrawals. Printed emails with the lawyer Marcus Reed discussing the transfer and my supposed instability. Notes in my husband's handwriting building a case that I was mentally unfit. Sarah photographed everything. This is premeditated fraud, she said. He has been planning this for over a year. My phone buzzed, a text from my husband. Did you drink the tea I left for you? It should help with your stress. Love you. The heart emoji made my stomach turn. He was checking if the plan was working. I texted back with shaky fingers, making my voice sound weak in the reply, yes, drank it all. Feeling a bit off already? Have a good conference? Sarah gave me a thumbs up. Keep him thinking it is working. We need time. But inside, I was screaming. My husband had silenced our daughter for 7 years and tried to poison me to steal my inheritance. I had to pretend everything was fine while the trap closed. The next morning, the texts from my husband kept coming, each one more calculated than the last. Feeling any better today? The tea should have helped by now. His words were wrapped in concern, but I knew they were a test to see if his plan was on track. I replied with a weak-sounding message about dizziness and nausea playing the part while my stomach churned with real anger. My daughter sat beside me on the bed, her voice still hesitant but growing stronger every hour. She told me more stories from the years of silence, how my husband would talk on the phone right in front of her, about handling the trust, and how I was too emotional to manage money properly. It broke me all over again. Sarah stayed close coordinating with Alex Rivera, an assistant prosecutor I had met through a community fundraiser 2 years earlier. We have enough for the authorities to move, Alex said during a hushed call. But we need to wait for the right moment when he tries to finalize the transfer. To add more support, Sarah brought in Dr. Elena Vargas, a child psychologist she trusted completely. Dr. Vargas met with my daughter privately that afternoon in our living room. When they finished, she pulled me aside. Your daughter is incredibly resilient, Natalie, but the trauma of being silenced for 7 years runs deep. She is going to need consistent therapy. Her words were kind, but they hammered home the irreversible damage my husband had done. Later that afternoon, my coworker, Claire Simmons, stopped by with some bank documents she had discreetly pulled. My husband asked me last month about your account access logs, she revealed. I thought it was strange, but now it makes sense. He has been monitoring everything. Claire's presence added another layer of evidence, and her sharp observation made me feel less alone. But then my phone rang. It was my husband. I put it on speaker so Sarah and Claire could listen. Hey babe, how are you holding up? His voice was smooth, the same tone he used when he wanted something. I decided to cut the conference short and head home tomorrow instead of staying the full 4 days. I do not like the idea of you being sick alone with Lily. The words should have sounded caring, but they landed like a threat. He was coming back early, which meant the window to set up the sting was shrinking fast. Sarah motioned for me to keep calm. I forced my voice to sound frail. That is sweet of you, but I will be okay. Do not ruin your trip. He laughed lightly, but there was an edge. No, I insist. Besides, we need to talk about the trust paperwork when I get back. I have been handling some things for us. The jab was subtle but clear. He was reminding me that he was in control, that I was the unstable one who needed him to manage everything. My daughter tensed beside me, her small hand gripping mine. After the call ended, Claire whispered, "That was him testing the waters. He is suspicious." The evening brought another shock. My daughter, now more comfortable speaking, remembered something new. Daddy talked to Uncle Victor on the phone last week. They said once the money is in Daddy's name, they can buy the cabin up north and no one would know. Victor Lang, my husband's brother, had always been his loyal shadow. Now it seemed he was in on it too. This revelation raised the stakes higher. Sarah immediately called Alex to include Victor in the investigation. As night fell, I lay awake thinking about the years I had trusted my husband completely. He had slowly eroded my confidence, making me doubt my own decisions while positioning himself as the steady one. My daughter's silence had been part of that control, a way to keep me in the dark while he positioned himself as the sole decision maker. Dr. Elena Vargas returned for a follow-up and warned me that if I confronted him too soon, it could trigger more manipulation. Narcissistic patterns like this often escalate when challenged, she said sharply. Her insight cut deep, making me question if I had ever really known the man I married. The next morning brought the first real mini crisis. A text from an unknown number linked to Victor Connor said, "You are not feeling well. Need anything?" It felt like they were closing ranks. I showed it to Sarah, who frowned. They are coordinating. We need to move the plan up. Alex Rivera called right after with urgent news the lawyer Marcus Reed had agreed to cooperate and set a trap for when my husband arrived at the office tomorrow. But just as we were finalizing details, my phone rang again. It was my husband. "Change of plans, Natalie. I am already on the road and will be home in a couple of hours." Surprise. His voice had that triumphant undertone, like he knew something I did not. My heart pounded. He was coming back way sooner than expected. Sarah grabbed the evidence folder. "This changes everything. We have to be ready." My daughter looked at me with those big eyes. "Mommy, what if he gets mad that I talked?" The fear in her voice was a gut punch. I hugged her tight, promising we would face it together. But as the hours ticked down to his arrival, I realized the confrontation I had been dreading was now barreling toward us. And with my husband's brother involved and the money trail leading deeper, I was not sure if setting boundaries would be enough to protect us, or if it would leave me completely alone in the end. The front door clicked open sooner than I expected. My husband walked in, suitcase in hand, that familiar, charming smile plastered on his face like nothing was wrong. "Surprise, babe," he called out, voice dripping with that practiced warmth. "I could not stay away knowing you were under the weather. How is the tea treating you? You should be feeling the effects by now." He set the suitcase down and stepped closer, eyes scanning me up and down. Then the mask slipped just a fraction when he noticed I was standing straight, not doubled over or drowsy. His tone sharpened, instantly laced with that cold sarcasm he saved for when he thought I was stepping out of line. "You look awfully put together for someone who texted me about being too sick to stand. What, did you skip the tea I made specially for you? Or are you just being dramatic again, like always?" The words hit like a slap, but I stayed calm, my hands steady on the counter. Lily shifted beside me, and before I could stop her, her small voice cut through the tension. Daddy, I told Mommy not to drink it. I heard you on the phone. My husband's head snapped toward her, shock flashing across his face for half a second before it twisted into something darker, colder. He took a step back, then forced a laugh that did not reach his eyes. Defensive, almost frantic, but quickly shifting to that controlling edge I had never fully seen before. Lily, what the hell is this? You have been quiet for 7 years, and now you are talking. This is exactly why I had to teach you to stay silent, to protect your mother from her own instability. You are making things up again, are you not? Just like I warned you would happen if you ever opened your mouth. The jab landed hard, exposing years of resentment in one breath. He turned back to me, voice dropping low with that venomous psychological twist. See what you have done, Natalie. You have always been too soft with her, letting her think she could challenge me. This is why I handle everything, the trust, the decisions, the money. You cannot even manage a simple herbal blend without turning it into some conspiracy. If you were not so paranoid, we would not be here. His eyes flicked to the thermos still on the counter, and for a split second, I saw real panic underneath the sarcasm. But he doubled down, stepping closer with that forced smile. Come on, babe, let us not do this in front of Lily. You are clearly not yourself right now. Maybe you need to rest while I sort out the trust paperwork like I planned. Sarah cleared her throat from the doorway, and my husband froze when he noticed her and Claire there too. Who are these people? Natalie, what is going on? Before I could answer, the doorbell rang. It was Patricia Quinn, the divorce attorney Alex had quietly recommended earlier that morning, a no-nonsense woman in her 40s with sharp eyes who had agreed to consult on short notice. She walked in carrying a folder, introducing herself calmly as my legal support. My husband's face went pale, but he recovered with another cutting remark directed straight at me. A lawyer, Willie. This is how you thank me for trying to take care of our family. After everything I have done to keep us stable, while you chase your little bank job and pretend you are in control, you are going to regret this, Natalie. You will end up with nothing if you keep pushing. The confrontation escalated fast, his words turning into a barrage of personal jabs that exposed the deep resentment he had hidden for years. He accused me of being the unstable one, the one who had forced him to protect Lily by silencing her, all while glancing at the evidence I had laid out on the table. Claire stepped in with a bank record showing the unauthorized transfers, but my husband deflected with more sarcasm. Those are just family adjustments. You would not understand the pressure I was under. Victor Lang, his brother, called right then, another mini cliffhanger that made my stomach drop. My husband put it on speaker, and Victor's voice came through panicked. Connor, the lawyer in Rapid City, just texted. Something is off with the meeting. You need to handle Natalie before this blows up. The call ended abruptly, leaving the room in heavy silence. Dr. Elena Vargas arrived minutes later, summoned by Sarah for an emergency session with Lily, and her presence added another layer of support that seemed to rattle my husband even more. He tried one last manipulation, turning to me with a softer but still laced tone. Natalie, think about what this will do to Lily. To us. I have always been the one holding this family together. If you walk away now, you will be the one destroying everything we have built. But the words rang hollow after everything Lily had revealed and the evidence stacked against him. I felt the weight of it all crashing down as the authorities Alex had alerted showed up quietly at the door for statements. My husband was taken in for questioning, not arrested yet, because the case needed more time to build fully across state lines. But the damage was done. In the days that followed, I set the firmest boundaries I had ever drawn. I told him through Patricia Quinn that I needed space, physical and emotional, and that any contact had to go through lawyers. The trust stayed frozen, most of the $225,000 recovered, but the legal fight dragged on without a quick victory. Lily started regular therapy with Dr. Vargas, her voice growing stronger, yet the fear of what came next lingered in her eyes. I kept my job at the bank where my boss, Thomas Riley, offered quiet understanding and adjusted my schedule so I could focus on Lily. My neighbor, Diane Harper, even dropped by one evening with a casserole, admitting she had seen my husband meeting Victor late at night weeks earlier and thought something felt off. Their support helped in small ways, but none of it filled the emptiness. I sold our house in Sioux Falls a month later, moving into a small apartment across town with Lily. No dramatic revenge, no public takedown that fixed everything. My husband fought the charges enough to avoid jail time, initially agreeing to a plea that kept him out of our daily lives, but left him with partial access to some assets through endless negotiations. The boundaries I set protected us, but they came at a cost. Friends like Sarah and Claire drifted as the drama faded into paperwork and custody hearings. Family gatherings became non existent. Evenings in the new apartment felt quiet, just Lily and me talking about dinosaurs or school days. But the loneliness settled in deep. I had chosen self-preservation over the fight, walking away from the marriage and the life we built. Yet it left me disconnected in a way I had not expected. Lily thrived in her new school, but I carried the weight of 7 years of silence and betrayal alone. Some truths do not bring closure or triumph. They just leave you standing in a half-empty apartment, grateful for the peace, but aching from the isolation it required. Thank you for listening to my story. If you have ever set boundaries with someone who was supposed to love you and felt the loneliness that follows, tell me in the comments what helped you through it. I read every single one,